Edmond Halley was not just an astronomer. He was a kind of guardian of time, a man who saw patterns where others saw only chaos. Imagine looking up at the sky and realizing that the universe is trying to warn you about something. A signal lost in the cosmic void. A cycle that has been repeating itself for millennia, but is about to come to an end. Some scientists have risked their careers trying to expose this. In fact, one of them already knew, Edmond Halley, the same man who predicted the return of a comet. He also predicted the collapse of humanity and NASA. Silence. Today, you'll discover the 5 cosmic phenomena that NASA avoids commenting on, and in the end, maybe you'll wish you'd never seen this video. While his colleagues observed stars to predict tides, Halley looked at the cosmos and saw warnings. He was the first to understand that the universe speaks in cycles. That which seems random, in fact, it is part of a cosmic dance that has been repeated for millennia. It was he who predicted the return of a comet with mathematical accuracy when no one even believed it was possible. But what few people know, Halley believed that this comet brought with it more than just stardust. It had consequences. In his silent studies, he scoured the history of vanished civilizations, global catastrophes, and found a disturbing connection between celestial events and the collapses of humanity. He recorded his findings, but much of it was ignored, silenced. Today, forgotten documents and abandoned theories of Halley are resurfacing, and they start to make sense based on modern data collected by space agencies. But for some reason, not released to the public, the question remains, what exactly did Halley discover? And why can this answer change everything? He was a visionary and a messenger of the times, not one of those who read fortunes from cards or crystals, but someone who read the destiny of humanity in the orbits of the stars. While the world revolved immersed in wars, religions, and politics, Halley looked up, and I saw heavenly warnings. He understood that the universe doesn't just exist, it speaks, and their messages are written in invisible trajectories, frequencies, and cycles. Halley was the first to unite astronomy with history, searching for patterns between the appearance of celestial bodies and the great milestones of civilization. He saw time not as a line, but like a circle that always returns to the same point, as if the cosmos itself were stuck in a gear that moves forward, and with each turn brings with it inevitable consequences. And maybe that's why he left clues that only now, centuries later, are we ready to understand. Because Halley didn't just want to predict comets, he wanted to warn the future, and that future is now. In the 17th century, he observed patterns, but they were not simple repetitions in the sky. They were messages coded in light and shadow. While telescopes were still imperfect, Halley could already see beyond the lens. He noticed that certain comets returned at regular intervals, as if they obeyed an invisible clock. And the more he studied, the more I realized that the universe seemed synchronized with the Earth's own history. Wars, epidemics, falls of empires, everything seemed to follow the same rhythm, a celestial compass that governed the rise and fall of civilizations. Halley began to note dates, trajectories, and coincidences. He predicted the return of a comet, but I suspected something much bigger, that the universe moves in cycles of destruction and rebirth, and that these cycles were about to repeat themselves. In his manuscripts, there are passages that few have read to this day, cut lines, crossed out words, as if Halley himself had tried to hide something that should not be revealed. Some say he discovered the pattern of Earth's great cataclysms. Others believe he mapped the exact moment the cycle begins again. And if he's right, so we, now, are at the beginning of the next cycle, not just comets, but historical collapses. Because Halley understood something no one dared consider, that the sky not only illuminates the Earth, he decides your fate. By cross-referencing astronomical data with ancient records, he realized that certain celestial events coincided with apocalyptic milestones for humanity. The Black Death, for example, rose after the passage of an unidentified celestial body. The fall of the Roman Empire, the disappearance of the Mayans, devastating volcanic eruptions, everything orbited around the same cyclical pattern. Halley began to see comets as signs, not mere space travelers, signs that something bigger was moving, something that affected the climate, geopolitics, human behavior, and even the balance of life on Earth.
And the more he investigated, but I realized that these cycles were not accidents. They had markers, as if the universe itself were setting dates for change or for the end. But his ideas were too dangerous for the time. Publicly, he talked about orbits and gravity. Behind the scenes, he left clues that are now being rediscovered, and that might explain why NASA avoids touching on certain topics, civilizations that mysteriously disappeared. There were not a few, they disappeared like dust in the wind. No documented wars, no traces of invasion, just archaeological silence. The Indus Valley civilization, the Olmecs, the Mayans, who simply stopped building, writing, existing. To this day, the books say nobody knows why. But Halley was suspicious. He believed that extreme celestial events were linked to these disappearances. Comets, meteor showers, magnetic variations, solar anomalies. In his notebooks, there are notes that some civilizations appear to have been wiped out as part of a larger cosmic cycle. And here's the scariest detail. Before they disappeared, these cultures left strange symbols, paintings, engravings, astronomical maps, too detailed for their time, as if they were trying to warn, as if they knew what was coming. Some of them built pyramids aligned with constellations. Others buried temples in deserts that were once seas. All of this could just be coincidence, or the desperate attempt to warn the future. Alert us, global events synchronized with the sky. It seems like fiction. But Halley believed that the greatest milestones in human history happen in sync with the cosmos. It is no coincidence that major collapses occur during times of intense solar activity, or that world wars began under the same planetary alignment observed centuries before, in periods of extreme historical instability. During the French Revolution, records indicate a series of intense aurora borealis displays visible even at latitudes where they should never appear. During the same period, solar activity was at an unusual peak. Before the collapse of the Mayan civilization, the sky was marked by a total eclipse followed by an unprecedented drought. The stars, according to ancient codices, were at war. In 1816, the year that became known as the Year Without a Summer, the global temperature has dropped dramatically.
Millions died of starvation, and that same year, an unidentified comet crossed the sky for weeks. Could all this be just chance? Halley didn't think so. For him, heaven was not a set, it was a script that dictates when the earth lives, when it bleeds, and when it is silent. And if he's right, what is the sky trying to tell us now? And he left clues, not in the form of direct predictions, but as someone who knows they are writing to someone in the future. For someone like you, who also feels that there is something hidden behind the official silence. In his manuscripts, Halley hid messages between astronomical lines, graphs that looked like just orbital calculations. But when overlaid with historical timelines, they reveal frightening patterns. He made notes in codes, using little understood symbols, cross-references to ancient events, names of disappeared civilizations, and dates that seemed random until they matched NASA's own modern records. Some of these documents were lost for centuries. Others were shelved in British institutions and never digitized. Historians call them academic curiosities, but for some independent researchers, this is evidence of a carefully hidden truth. Halley seemed to know that the world was not ready for what he had discovered, but he didn't try to stop it. He just left the keys. And now, with today's technology, with the recent anomalies in the sky, and with the increase in silence from agencies like NASA, these keys are starting to fall into place. The question is, what happens when everything is revealed? Clues that today coincide with data that NASA has never openly published for decades. Halley's records were treated as mere historical curiosities, but as modern instruments began to observe the universe more accurately, the coincidences became too uncomfortable to ignore. Some of Halley's orbital calculations by hand matched the rotations and displacements of celestial bodies that were only recently confirmed by space telescopes. He pointed to regions of the sky that we now know harbor unstable cosmic structures, hidden asteroid belts, high-energy radiation, and even gravitational distortion zones that can affect time itself. And the most impressive, in one of his notes, Halley describes what he calls breaths of heaven, almost imperceptible fluctuations in the rhythm of the stars, something that seemed too poetic to be taken seriously. Until, in 2016, NASA captured mysterious radio waves coming from the center of the galaxy, in regular pulses, as if the universe were, in fact, breathing. But this study never gained prominence. It was published discreetly, without fanfare, no press conferences, no interviews. Why? Why hide patterns that coincide with predictions of a 17th century man? Could it be because these clues point to something we cannot prevent? Or because they reveal that is someone out there following a much bigger plan than we can imagine? Why? This is the question that echoes among silenced scientists, censored documents, and signals from the universe that arrive without translation. Why hide? Why keep silent about something that can warn, prepare, perhaps even save? Could it be because the truth is too big to be understood? Or because collective fear is more dangerous than the phenomenon itself? NASA, which has already revealed black holes, supernovae, habitable planets, suddenly falls silent in the face of certain data. Avoid interviews, files findings in reports that no one reads. Are we faced with a truth too inconvenient to reveal? A truth that can destabilize governments, religions, economies? Or do they also not know exactly what is coming? Maybe the question isn't just why, but yes, why now? Because the signs are intensifying, the data accumulates, and Halley's clues are coming true. And most importantly, what exactly did Halley know that we are still trying to understand? Why a 17th century astronomer seems to have mapped more clearly the behavior of the cosmos than many satellites with modern technology? How could he predict events that today, even with supercomputers, do they still take us by surprise? Did Halley have access to something that we have lost over time, ancient texts, star maps banned? Or was he just the first to listen to what the universe had always been trying to say? Because in the end, it's not about comets, radiation, or black holes. It's about understanding the signs before it's too late. And if these signs are all before us, screaming in silence as we look up at the sky without really seeing, what did Halley know that we are still discovering? Perhaps he understood that the universe is more than matter and energy, that he keeps an awareness of cycles, a type of natural intelligence that expresses itself through patterns. Halley realized that stars don't just follow predictable trajectories, they follow invisible intentions. While other astronomers measured distances, he cross-referenced celestial events with ancient records of catastrophes, searching for meaning, and what he found, though he never said it in so many words, was an invisible line connecting the fall of empires, the rise of pandemic diseases, or collapse of climate systems, and the subtle movements of celestial bodies. Halley saw the cosmos as a living organism, and the Earth as part of your nervous system. What he knew, and what we are only now beginning to discover, is that the universe emits signals of transition, signs that repeat themselves before every major historical rupture. And these signs are repeating themselves now. Science is beginning to capture them. But the question that echoes, and which Halley perhaps already knew the answer to, is, what happens when the cycle closes? Again, if you're here so far, it's because you feel like something is out of place. It's not just curiosity, it's that strange feeling that the world is spinning faster, or perhaps darker, The news doesn't say. The books don't explain. But something inside you knows. You notice the signs, in the patterns that repeat themselves, in the silences of space agencies, the feeling that the entire universe is holding its breath. And that's why this channel exists. Because you are not alone. Because there is a community of people who see beyond the surface. If this video made something click inside you, leave a like, not for statistics, but because it helps keep this investigation alive. And subscribe, because what's coming in the next videos can change the way you see time, space, and your place in the universe. So leave a like and subscribe. It's not just a button. It's a sign that you are awake, that you don't accept the superficial version of reality. This simple gesture shows that you are also looking for answers, of forgotten patterns, of truths hidden in the folds of the universe, and more. This helps this content reach other people who, like you, they feel something is wrong, but they don't know what yet. That's how we grow, one restless mind at a time. So leave a like and subscribe, and come be part of YouTube's deepest cosmic investigation, not just to support the channel, but because this content can actually change the way you see the universe. We're not talking about pretty planets or random curiosities. We are talking about hidden patterns, of cosmic messages that span millennia, of signs that can rewrite everything you think you understand about time, space, and existence. This video is not entertainment. It's a calling, an invitation to look at the sky with different eyes, with the awareness that each star, each pulse of light, each silence carries a warning. And maybe, just maybe, understanding this is the only chance we have of being prepared for what is coming, and maybe even your destiny within it. Because the universe is not just a distant scenery, full of planets, stars, and silence. He is a mirror. Every comet that passes, every eclipse, every pulsar coming from the depths of the galaxy can be a reflection of what is happening inside us. And if the universe moves in cycles, then maybe you are stuck in a cycle too, repeatedly, of aired questions, of feeling that something is coming, but not knowing what. This content doesn't just show you what's out there. It helps you understand what this has to do with you. Because perhaps, among the billions of celestial bodies, you may be a sign, a point of consciousness amidst the chaos. And understand the universe can be the first step to understanding your role within it. The return of the killer comet. His name seems harmless, Halley. But behind this familiarity, there is one of the most underestimated threats in modern history. Halley's comet is not just an icy rock drifting through space. He is a cosmic clock, a messenger of cycles and, possibly, events. Ever since Edmond Halley predicted his return with eerie accuracy, the world began to observe his trajectory with fascination, but few paid attention to the consequences it leaves in its wake. Unexplained fires, abrupt climate changes, electromagnetic disturbances, extreme historical events, all of this coinciding with their passages. In ancient times, its appearance was seen as a curse. Empires trembled, people fled, and ancient records show that the sky changed color, as if the planet itself was warning. Something is approaching. Today, we know that it carries with it a cloud of debris, invisible fragments that cut through Earth's orbit at lethal speeds. And according to recent studies, the Earth will pass through this cloud again shortly. NASA monitors, but avoids warnings. And here's the most disturbing detail. With each return, the comet gets a little closer. Are we prepared for this? Or is it that? Is that why Halley tried to warn us? Halley predicted the return of the comet that bears his name. But that wasn't just a scientific prediction. It was an act of defiance against time. A 17th century man, with paper, ink, and eyes in the sky, dared to talk to the future. At that time, believing that a comet could return was almost heresy. Most saw these celestial bodies as isolated, random events, omens of the gods. But Halley saw further, studying ancient records, connecting documented appearances in different centuries. He realized it was the same comet, coming back. Always. And then, he did the unthinkable. He determined that he would return in 1758, long after his death. And he came back, just as Halley predicted. It was the first time in history that humanity realized, in a concrete way, that the universe has memory. It has rhythm. It makes sense. But what if this logic also included the cyclical destruction of life on Earth? Halley didn't just leave an astronomical prediction. He left a warning disguised as a calculation. And this comet is coming back. But few know that he associated this cycle with rebirth and the destruction of humanity. For most, Halley's comet is just a rare spectacle, a twinkle in the sky every 76 years. But for Edmond Halley, he was the harbinger of a much darker cycle. In his studies, almost always ignored by academic circles, he proposed that the history of humanity progressed in blocks of time, and that each return of the comet marked the end of a civilizational cycle. Wars, plagues, falls of empires, he didn't see these events as random, but as symptoms of something larger, as if the universe, in its movement, had the power to restart civilization. And the comet was the trigger, the reminder, rebirth and destruction, light and collapse, heaven and abyss. In Halley's cosmic symbology, humanity grew, ignored the signs, deviated from natural laws, and then the comet returned, bringing with it the consequence, not for punishment, but because the cycle needed to close. And now, with the return approaching again, the question that hangs over us all is, we are on the threshold of a new renaissance, or on the verge of a new destruction. Modern studies show that Halley's comet may be linked to global events, ancient wildfires, and even abrupt climate change. And this is not a conspiracy theory. It's data, geological records, physical marks left on Earth. As if the planet itself bore scars from each passage, researchers have found layers of coal and soot in the soil of various parts of the world, all dating from periods close to the comet's appearances. Colossal fires, simultaneous, no apparent explanation, as if something in the sky had ignited the atmosphere. Furthermore, tree ring records show sudden changes in temperature, years of solar scarcity, summers that never came, and winters that lasted much longer than expected. These anomalies coincide, with disturbing precision, with the dates of Halley's passage. And although NASA recognizes these coincidences as statistically curious, she never publicly declared any direct link between the comet and these phenomena. But the question remains, how can something that seems so distant have such an impact here? Perhaps the answer lies in the invisible tail that the comet carries. Or perhaps, as Halley believed, it is not just a celestial body. Maybe he's a catalyst, the cosmic hum coming from the center of the galaxy. There is something vibrating in the heart of the Milky Way, a sound that shouldn't exist, but it's there, constant, deep, and disturbing. Astronomers have captured pulsating radio waves coming directly from the center of the galaxy. They are not background noise, they have frequency, rhythm, intention, a cosmic hum that appears, disappears, and comes back with slight variations as if trying to communicate. The first record came in 2020 of an object called ASKAPJ 173608-3-1635. He's been emitting signals for months, then it disappeared. And the strangest thing, it doesn't behave like anything we know. Not even a neutron star, not even a black hole, not a pulsar. It's like it's something new, or something we've never been allowed to understand. Scientists have published studies, but NASA remains silent. No official explanation, no concrete hypothesis. Why? Because this hum is coming from a region many believe to be home to the largest black hole in our galaxy, Sagittarius A*. And some theories suggest that we're not just hearing the sound from the center, but the effects of a gravitational distortion that is beginning to expand, like a heart beating faster or an alarm going off in the dark, a frequency detected by radio astronomers. But not just any frequency, not random noise lost in space. It was something that repeated itself, a pattern, like a cosmic beat, as if the universe were breathing or preparing to speak. It was captured by ultra-sensitive radio telescopes in remote locations on Earth, equipment designed to capture the subtlest whispers of the cosmos. Heard something that seemed impossible, a sound coming from the center of the galaxy, a magnetic hum, which appeared for minutes and then disappeared without a trace. And the most disturbing, he always returned with a slight mutation, as if it were evolving or responding. Scientists tried to decipher. They attributed it to natural phenomena, but none of them fit perfectly. It wasn't pulsating. It wasn't a black hole. It wasn't a solar flare. It was something new, unclassifiable. And then the debates began. Interns, silent, out of the public eye. Some radio astronomers began to wonder, and if it's not a sound, but a message button, constant, but slightly mutant, like the heart of something living, something that breathes, thinks, and observes. The frequency captured was not chaotic. It was rhythmic, precise, as if it came from a subtle, but present, intelligence. It repeated itself with almost perfect intervals, but with each new issue, it brought a small variation, an adjustment, a different tone, as if he were calibrating himself to be understood. It wasn't static, it was organic, and that's what scared radio astronomers the most, because something so regular, yet changeable, challenges classical explanations of astrophysics. It didn't feel natural, but it didn't feel artificial either. It seemed intentional, as if the universe itself was trying to get our attention, as if to say, listen, something at the center of the Milky Way is sending signals, and they are not metaphors. These are not illusions. These are real data, captured by radio telescopes in different parts of the world. Signals that travel thousands of light years, crossing stardust, gravitational fields, and absolute silence until it touches the Earth. At first, scientists thought it was interference. Then they thought it was a new type of star. But no astrophysical model explained the frequency, the regularity, and above all, the standard. It's not an explosion. It is not a death pulse. It's something that's trying to be heard, an invisible emitter, hidden in the densest and most unattainable center of the galaxy. There where Sagittarius A asterisk hides, the supermassive black hole that holds the Milky Way together. But what if it's not just gravity that he emanates? What if, round him, something else is alive, observing, recording, calling? Because the signs continue, in rhythms that defy chance, as if to say, over and over again, you are being watched. NASA captured it, and did not disclose details. The signals were recorded, not once, but several times, confirmed by independent instruments, in different parts of the planet, at frequencies that could not be confused with technical error. They knew from the first pulse, but instead of fanfare, silence came. No press conference, no mention on social media, no detailed public report. Just a vague note hidden in an academic publication, citing transient anomalies of unknown origin, as if the deepest mystery of the galaxy was just an unimportant noise. But behind closed doors, the climate was different. Researchers were forbidden from speculating. Articles were reviewed before publication, and any connection between the signals and cosmic intelligence was deleted from the official discussion. Why? Because maybe what is emitting these signals is not just natural, and admit it publicly could change the way we view science, the universe, and our place within it. Why does this sound remind me of an alert? Because it is not harmonious. It's not random. It's not natural. He is insistent. It's dry. It is necessary, like the sound of a radar or a racing heart in the face of danger. It pulses at almost exact intervals, with pauses that don't seem accidental, as if waiting for an answer, as if it were a test. And the most disturbing thing, it increases. With each new capture, the frequency intensifies, as if something at the center of the galaxy was approaching a tipping point. It's not just sound. It is intention disguised as vibration. When we hear sirens, alarms, or rapid heartbeats, the body reacts. The brain goes into a state of alert. This cosmic hum has the same effect, even without hearing it directly, even light years away. It's as if our instinct, the most primitive, the deepest, knew. I knew something was wrong. What if that sound isn't just a physical alert, but a warning to the conscience? Something out there is emitting a signal, and maybe we are the target. The cosmic annihilation zone. There is a region of the universe where life simply cannot exist. An area so charged with lethal radiation, energetic particles, and gravitational distortions that any planet, star, or organic particle that passes by there is disintegrated. Scientists call them gamma ray zones or cosmic death bubbles, regions formed by supernova explosions, neutron star collisions, and chaotic electromagnetic fields that break the known laws of physics. They are in deep space, invisible to the eyes, but active, always. And here's the scary detail. The solar system is approaching one of these zones. With each galactic rotation, which lasts about 225 million years, we cross different regions of the Milky Way, some calm, others mortals. Recent studies suggest that we are slowly entering one of these unstable areas, an area where cosmic radiation is 1,000 times more intense than normal. The effects increase in the number of genetic mutations, weakening of the Earth's magnetic field, and potentially mass extinctions. Some geologists believe this is what happened to the dinosaurs. Not a meteor, but an invisible storm coming from space itself. What if this cycle is about to repeat itself? NASA discreetly monitors these zones, but he doesn't talk about them openly. Because how do you explain to the public that we are moving towards a zone where existence itself can be erased? This is the cosmic annihilation zone, and we're already on the edge. There's a region of space known as the Death Belt. It is not a symbolic name, it's literal. An invisible but lethal band that surrounds areas of the universe where life inevitably ceases to exist. This belt is formed by intense fields of gamma radiation, destructive stellar winds, and high-energy particles traveling at nearly the speed of light. There is no planet, atmosphere, or civilization capable of surviving if directly exposed to this force. It is the result of billions of years of cosmic chaos, supernovae that exploded like open wounds in the fabric of the universe, gravitational collapses that left behind dead zones, and invisible currents that now slowly cross the galactic plane. For centuries, these regions were just theory. But now, with the precision of modern satellites, scientists know where they are, and one of these regions is in our way. According to astrophysical simulations, the solar system is entering a phase of its galactic rotation that will place it, in the next hundreds or thousands of years, within the direct range of this belt. But what if this is already happening? What if increasing climate instability, the weakening of the Earth's magnetic field, and the increase in genetic mutations are early signs of exposure? NASA avoids using the term Death Belt. They prefer technical, harmless names that don't cause panic. But some independent scientists have already warned, we are heading straight for the heart of the cosmic furnace. Some astronomers believe we are slowly moving towards it, like a ship without a rudder, like a cosmic clock that cannot be turned back. The Earth is following its path, not by choice, but because it's part of the cycle. As it orbits the center of the galaxy, the solar system traces a gigantic spiral, taking our planet through regions of the universe that we do not know, and that may not know us. These zones are not visible. They don't blink. They don't shine. But they are loaded with lethal radiation, gravitational distortions, and energetic particles capable of damaging the very structure of DNA. And the scariest thing, the speed at which we approach is imperceptible to the human eye. But the calculations don't lie. Every decade, space sensors detect increasing levels of cosmic radiation. With each solar rotation, Earth's magnetic field becomes more unstable. And the most daring, astronomers warn, we are walking through an invisible corridor, and we don't know what's on the other side. NASA acknowledges this data, but avoids interpretation. Avoid naming what perhaps can no longer be avoided. Because when we talk about galaxies, slowly still means inevitably. An area with extreme levels of radiation that can literally sterilize entire planets. Sterilize. Do not destroy with fire. Don't explode into 1,000 pieces, but to erase any and all forms of life, silently and irreversibly. This radiation is not like what we know on Earth. It is thousands of times more intense, with subatomic particles traveling close to the speed of light, capable of crossing entire atmospheres and break the genetic code of any living being. When a planet enters this field, the consequences are absolute. Food chains collapse, ecosystems disappear, all biological reproduction ceases. The planet continues to exist, but like a dead body, frozen in time, without the slightest chance of regeneration. Some scientists have already found evidence of exoplanets that display exactly this type of scar. No atmosphere, no magnetic field, no sign of life, as if they had been erased. And now, studies show that our solar system is on the route of one of these zones. The question is no longer if, but when we will cross the threshold. What if this is already happening? If the first effects are invisible, subtle changes in climate, genetic behavior, and the perception of time itself? NASA knows the risks, but what she doesn't say is that perhaps there is no shield capable of protecting us, because this radiation does not destroy buildings, it destroys life from the inside out. Objects that are only detected hours before near collisions. Picture this: you wake up one morning, and without knowing it, a block of rock the size of a building has just passed within a few thousand kilometers of Earth. So close, it crossed the orbit of satellites, and nobody knew in advance. These are so-called ghosts, asteroids, dark, irregular, unpredictable objects that only appear on radar when they are practically already here. They come in blind corners, hidden by the sunlight, or masked by atmospheric interference, and they appear in NASA systems hours or even minutes before a possible collision. There's no time to evacuate. There's no time to react. There's just time to watch. In 2019, one of these asteroids passed within 70,000 kilometers of Earth, closer than many communications satellites, and it was only detected 21 hours before. Now imagine if it were just 500 meters bigger, enough to devastate an entire city or cause a global winter. And that was just one. NASA's database of NEOs, near-Earth objects, is growing every month, but what many don't know is that there is a secret list of objects classified as not disclosed to the public. Why? Perhaps to avoid panic, or maybe because some of those bodies are still coming, and they can arrive without warning, no light, and without mercy. NASA calls them NEOs, near-Earth objects, near-Earth objects. But don't be fooled by the technical name. This cold, generic term hides something much more alarming. NEOs are asteroids and comets that cross Earth's orbit at absurd speeds, some large enough to annihilate continents, others too small to cause alarm, but still lethal if they reach densely populated areas. There are thousands, and the number grows every week. NASA monitors these celestial bodies with advanced tracking systems, map your routes, calculate approximations, but it doesn't reveal everything. Not everything is publicly recorded. Not everything is talked about at conferences. Many of these objects are classified as obscured by solar interference, unstable trajectories, or even worse, unconfirmed. And that's where the danger lurks. In those that have not yet been detected. In those who only appear when it is too late. Because for a NEO to cause destruction, it doesn't need to be giant. You just need to go unnoticed. And at that very moment, here are hundreds of them, wandering close to Earth. Some passed within 3,000 kilometers of Earth. Think about it for a second. 3.000 kilometers. It's closer than certain international flights, closer than telecommunications satellites, closer than the International Space Station. An asteroid with enough force to destroy a city, passing between us and our own satellites. And the scariest thing, most people never knew. No global alert, no emergency announcement. Just a cold, discreet technical note behind the scenes of an astronomical database. One of these objects, 2023 BOO, passed so close to Earth that it was deflected by the planet's gravity. And it was only detected for days before. If it had entered the atmosphere, would have caused an explosion equivalent to dozens of nuclear bombs. And no one was ready. Now imagine how many passed even closer without ever being detected. How many dark, silent, and fast bodies have already crossed our path without us having the slightest chance to react. There is only one truth: we are in the crosshairs, and we don't even know who's pulling the trigger. That's closer than some satellites, closer than the GPS that guides your cell phone, closer than the satellites that transmit your internet, your messages, your videos, closer than the International Space Station itself. Imagine a block of cosmic rock, traveling at tens of thousands of kilometers per hour, passing below the line of many artificial satellites. It's like a cosmic bullet passing through a glass condominium, and by pure chance, it didn't hit anyone. That's the scale of the threat, and the fragility of our position in space. Because if these objects pass a little lower, or if they are pulled by Earth's gravity at the last second, we will not have notice. We will have no defense. They will come from heaven, and when we realize, will have already touched the ground, or worse, the sea, generating invisible tsunamis, global shock waves, and a ripple effect that no warning system could contain. And all this happening below the satellite network, within our comfort zone. Time dilation around nearby black holes. When we talk about black holes, we imagine something distant, unattainable, trapped at the bottom of the universe. But what if I told you they're closer than you think? Astronomers have recently confirmed the existence of dormant black holes within our own galaxy. And more than that, some are approaching, not by its own movement, but because we are moving towards them. It's part of the gravitational dance of the Milky Way. And the scariest effect of these holes is not destruction. It's something much more subtle and more disturbing: the dilation of time near a black hole. Time slows down. Literally, a minute can last an hour. A second can stretch as if caught between two worlds. It's space-bending reality itself, distorting time as if it were rubber. Satellites around Earth have already detected small, unexplained temporal anomalies, atomic clocks that lose synchronization, experiments that present fluctuations outside the calculations. Nothing big enough to get media attention, but constant enough to worry scientists. What if these distortions are a sign of something much bigger? What if we're entering the gravitational outskirts of one of these sleeping giants? The question is not just scientific, it's philosophical. If time is starting to warp, how will we know when it's too late? No, black holes are not as far away as you think. They are not stuck at the end of the universe, nor hidden only among distant galaxies. They are here, in our cosmic neighborhood. For a long time, we believed that black holes were rarities, isolated events in inhospitable regions of the cosmos. But with the advancement of gravitational wave telescopes, the truth began to emerge. Black holes are everywhere, silent, invisible, but with a gravitational signature that cannot be ignored. And some of them are inside the Milky Way, a few thousand light years away, some even closer. Recently, one such black hole was detected just 1,500 light years from Earth. In cosmic terms, this is practically next door. And if that already seems alarming, it's not the worst yet. Scientists have discovered that there are sleeping black holes. They do not consume matter. They do not emit light. They are completely invisible until something activates them. And there are signs that the gravitational field of one of them is already interfering with parts of our system. Small anomalies in the motion of nearby stars, subtle deviations in the rotation of celestial bodies, almost imperceptible signs, but real. The question is no longer are there black holes near us, but yes, how many? And how long have they been watching us in silence? Some are within our galaxy, and that, in itself, should be cause for alarm. But now, new data is showing something even more disturbing. The gravitational field of one of these black holes may already be affecting the weather around us, not in movies, not in theories, in reality. Here, now, extremely accurate satellites have begun detecting temporal anomalies, minimal deviations in the passage of time compared to atomic standards, oscillations that, at first, were treated as equipment failures, but they keep happening at the same times, in the same orbital regions, with the same pattern. The only plausible explanation, the most silent, the most ignored, is that some external gravitational force is distorting local spacetime. And this force could be the trail of a sleeping black hole. Approaching, there are no explosions, there are no alarms, just time, dragging itself, bending. Over, it is deforming. If confirmed, this discovery would change everything. Our communication systems, our physics models, our perception of reality. Because if time is being changed without us noticing, then we are living in a distortion field, inside an invisible gravitational lens. And the question is, what happens when we get closer? Experiments on satellites have recorded temporal anomalies. Failures? No, not when they happen repeatedly, in different orbits, with different equipment, and in perfect operating conditions. What these satellites captured was not a mistake, it was a phenomenon. Atomic clocks, the most accurate that humanity has ever built, recorded unexplained. Microvariations in the flow of time, milliseconds that disappear, frequencies that slow down for an instant. as if time itself were blinking. And even stranger, these anomalies always occur in specific orbital zones, regions in which gravitational curvature, until then, should not cause any effect. Scientists called them non-significant deviations. But behind the scenes, the reports tell another story. Cross-comparisons with military satellites and space probes reveal a pattern. And this pattern points to a single possibility: an external and invisible gravitational influence. Something or someone is bending time. But officially, it was just sensor failure. That's the standard phrase, the elegant excuse, the lid placed on a pot about to explode. Every time a piece of data escapes known logic, every time an instrument records something that defies the laws of physics, the final report always brings the same conclusion: reading error, calibration drift, technical anomaly. But what happens when mistakes are repeated? When different satellites, in different orbits, with different sensors, record the same phenomenon? It's no longer a coincidence. It's standard. It's a symptom. But admitting this would imply something much bigger: that time is being changed, that reality is being distorted, and that maybe we have no control over it. So instead of facing the truth, reports are silenced, the data redirected, and the official narrative remains: everything is working perfectly. It was just a sensor failure. But we know, the universe does not fail, he warns, and satellites are being the first to feel it. The universe is sending us signs. They don't come with subtitles. They don't appear in headlines. They don't scream. They whisper. In comets that return with frightening precision. In the invisible hums that echo from the center of the galaxy. In the asteroids that pass us like silent bullets. In the subtle distortion of time that we only realize when it's too late. These signs are everywhere. In the sky, on Earth. Inside us. They speak in cosmic language, cycles, frequency, severity. But what they say, deep down, is simple. Pay attention. You are too close to something you don't understand. And maybe this is our last chance to listen. And maybe we're ignoring them all. Maybe we're so busy looking down, trapped in screens, in routines, in artificial emergencies, that we forget to look up for the patterns that repeat themselves, for the warnings that hide in dates, in lights, in noises forgotten in the depths of space. The universe does not scream. He whispers. But we make more noise than we hear. And when these signs become clear, we call them coincidence, of error, from sensor failure. But what if they aren't? What if we are refusing to see the very thing that can save us? Halley saw the signs and tried to leave the clues. Now they are all around us again, stronger, closer, more urgent. And if we continue to ignore, maybe there is no next cycle.